Welcome to The Sweet Life. I'm Kristi Andersen. The Sweet Life is a program that's all about learning from real leaders in our community, having those real conversations, not just about how they've been successful in business, but also just all of the things they've learned along the way in their personal lives. And I am so excited today. My friend Itzel Lopez is joining me. She's my friend, but she's also the new CEO of the Latino Economic Development Council here in Omaha. Itzel, thank you so much for being here.
Well, gracias, and thank you, Kristi, and thanks to the team. I'm very excited to share with you today.
Great. Well, we're excited to learn from you because you have a lot to teach us for sure. So tell us a little bit about the Latino Economic Development Council. Is a somewhat new organization, right? Hasn't been around for very long. You're the inaugural CEO. Tell us about the organization for those who don't know.
Absolutely. Well, yes, we're what we consider a startup nonprofit. We came together at the end of the pandemic, and obviously the pandemic's still around, but in this huge epidemic during the pandemic, the global pandemic, it was when we came together to form this group. It was at the end of 2021. Really, what we came together for was to raise awareness about some of the extreme economic hardship that our growing Latino community was facing at the time. As you mentioned, I have a long-standing background in business and many other things. And as a business owner specifically, I realized like some of the support that was coming to support small business owners like me weren't able to tap into those opportunities. And I could only imagine how hard it was going to be for other folks who, one, didn't speak English, two, didn't have access to this information, and three, to really be able to go back from surviving to thriving mode. And it was then when we came together as a group of business owners first, and then we invited residents and other community members from the South Omaha community, where the majority of our Latino community resides. And it's when we formed the Latino Economic Development Council. At the time, we didn't think it was going to become a nonprofit. It was just a group of us just saying, hey, the Latino community is experiencing extreme economic hardship. Is there anything we can do to promote, the information that's available regarding, financial support for families, housing, obviously in the business sector, getting access to that PPP and other things that were available at the time. How do we remove barriers so that everyone had access to those things? And slowly after is when we decided it was time for us to build, our own nonprofit, and most recently that's where we came from.
Well, usually that's what happens, right? I mean, you've got a problem that you need to solve. You have a community issue that you're passionate about, people in the community you're passionate about, and when you put really good minds together, like you and some of your partners, I mean, these things sort of happen. And you're well served for it, Itzel. So tell us a little bit about your background. You've been plugged into the community for so many years, and you're always championing new causes. And obviously this is one that's near and dear to your heart. But tell us, there's a lot of momentum in South Omaha right now, too, with a lot of projects that you're plugged into.
Yes, we are. Well, just I guess for a little bit of context, I was born and raised in Mexico, and at the age of 12 is when I came to the U.S. Little did I know that Omaha, Nebraska will be my home forever, or at least it has been for many years now. Coming into the States, I didn't realize also how hard it was going to be as a tween, moving into my teenage years. And one, I didn't speak English. My family didn't speak English. And we didn't, I mean, as little kids, we didn't know we were undocumented. And, that's a huge hardship just on its own, to be so vulnerable and just not having access to all things that, most folks, will have access to from the get-go. And so that limited us, but that didn't scare us moving forward in advancing our family and our future. So upon graduation, I was fortunate to be awarded a academic scholarship at Bell University. And then after I graduated from college is when we first founded our home. Well, it's not a home, it's a family business. And so when we did our family business, we had our brick and mortar called Maria Bonita Mexican Cuisine. So our business now today, fast forward, it's been 15 years since we opened our business. We have turned in the brick and mortar into food truck operating business. And so, our food trucks are all over the city, and we're so grateful for Omaha and all of our customers who are ongoing annual customers. We do everything from weddings all the way to corporate events. But outside of that, it was until DACA that I was really able to then formalize, all of the things that I have learned. I think growing up, the other thing that motivated me and my family was finding or creating a space where we felt safe, welcome, and were treated with dignity and respect. And to me, that's always been really, really important. And so community involvement was kind of a nature of all of us in our family. And so, but for me, the way that I found that sense of community was through volunteerism. And so during my college years, and even when we opened the restaurant, I was really engaged in any activities that had to do with promoting and advancing the Latino community. One of those that turned out to be, I became the festival manager for the Cinco de Mayo Omaha Festival, which now has become, the largest, most diverse, per the Department of Tourism, the highest, local or homegrown festival attraction in the state of Nebraska. And not just for Nebraska, but in the Midwest, Cinco de Mayo, Omaha has become one of the largest festivals in the area. And so, when you mix, there's a passion for community, serving our community, creating a community that welcomes, treats people with dignity and respect. And then you add that, my business acumen through our business. And also, during DACA, that transition into the professional world is how I got to now really do something that I'm really passionate about, which is this job.
And you have such an incredible story. I mean, from a child in Mexico to come to the United States and all of the things that you witnessed yourself and your family going through. What types of things have sort of prepared you for what you do today? And did you ever anticipate when you were that little girl coming from Mexico to the United States, did you ever dream that you would be running a nonprofit organization and be plugged in and be an influence in community development and economic development, really not just in Omaha, but the state of Nebraska?
No, I don't think growing up I had this picture and, kind of the roadblocks or the step-by-steps I had to take in order to be here today. However, I am grateful for all the opportunities that have been given to me. For over, almost 10 years, actually, I worked at the AIM Institute. And I think it was then when I realized the difference between jobs and careers. And, it sounds simple, but when you think about it, I don't know how many of our families really understand the importance of having a job and choosing a career, right? And we live day to day, and we see our parents go to work, and that's how they call it, I'm going to work. But they don't really spend time talking to their kids about what their day-to-day jobs or careers are. And it wasn't until I came to the AIM Institute that I realized that my parents had been working in a D3 job for a long time, which did not help in the cycle of poverty in my family. And it was because, we were able to go to college and then try to, that was when we tried to understand, what a career was going to become or look like for us girls. It was until I was able to formalize that training at the AIM Institute, I realized my parents had been working at a dirty, dangerous, demanding job, and they had done that for many, many years. And I just did not, it was one of those things like people jokingly say, so you knew exactly what you did not want to do, right? And I'm like, I think it was very clear because the smell was really hard. Now,
and they were in the packing plants.
In the meat packing plants, that's right. And so when I say that, I say that with a lot of respect. Of course, we need people to do all the jobs, right? Otherwise, our economy suffers. However, I think, people should have the opportunity to choose what job or what career they choose. Now, as I advanced into my career at the AIM Institute, when I realized, an H3 career choice, a high demand, high wage, high job opportunity, and that those jobs are classified as, mostly in STEM, but, you can have a high job, high demand, high wage job opportunity also in the trades. It's still demanding, can also be dirty, it can also be dangerous. However, that is a career. It's not just a job, right? And so it was really, that is one of those like Pandora boxes that just like open, my curiosity into thinking like, again, if I know this information, I can withhold it. Like, we need other people to know about what these jobs and career opportunities are, and we need to be speaking about it so that people have options.
And you were able to do a little bit in that with your role at the AIM Institute in the tech space, but certainly that's got to be a big pillar of your mission for the Latino Economic Development Council, right? That education within the community with community members that, hey, you can start here, but there really is more for you in the community, right?
Yes, absolutely. As we define now the mission of the Latino Economic Development Council, and you did talk about some of the South Omaha projects. As I mentioned before, we really didn't see ourselves coming together to create this nonprofit. But when it came to, decision time, it was obvious that the need to promote and advance the economic impact of our growing Latino community was an everyday thing, and that we needed an organization that did just that. And so today we focus on workforce development, culture and tourism, and Latino leadership influence. And some of the ways that the community is going to see some of our workforce development work is, the first thing, one of our cornerstone projects coming in is the Plaza de la Raza. And that's one of the main things that we're working that aligns with both culture and tourism, but workforce development. Of course, as we're designing this community space, which becomes then a park, a public space that is a space, just like me growing up, looking for a space where I feel welcome, where I was treated with dignity and respect, where I wasn't fearful of my family. This space will do just that. It'll be an inclusive space where everybody's going to be welcome. But it's also a space that is an extended learning opportunity, a space where people can go and talk about those jobs and those careers. We're working, we have an ad hoc group that we have, it's almost like a task force, a group of people that are volunteering their time to make sure that we think this park through all the way as an expansion of learning outside of the classroom. Everything from the STEM careers, but also using opportunities to expose pipe and talk about electricity or plumbing, or how does that work and what kind of careers, are from there. And then using technology to, maybe in the future we'll have some QR codes, or we'll have a website with, resources for the people to then identify what training, and what opportunities or jobs are available today in those specific jobs and careers. So it's not just a park. We're thinking this beyond the park and how we can use this opportunity as a public space to promote both ending the cycle of poverty by providing people an opportunity to think outside the box of what other jobs and careers are available to them.
And that's just one project right now in South Omaha. And in South Omaha, historically, there haven't been these large projects until really recently. And there's a lot of them going on right now. Why do you think that's so important? And maybe for those who are listening that aren't familiar with, or maybe haven't been to South Omaha in a while, why is that important now?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are still surprised, Kristi, to learn that 1 in 4 children across the U.S. are Latinos. What's even more interesting and more surprisingly in our community is that over 12% of the entire Nebraska population now identifies as Latino. But that number is about to double here in the next 10, 15 years maximum. Which then, with a quarter of the population shortly, and in Omaha, when you narrow it down, Douglas County being the largest county, Southeast Omaha, which is the Puma, that's 68107, 68108, 68105, and 68117, constitute for over half of all the Latinos in the state of Nebraska reside in that area. So now, when we think about that, like the number of the Latinos, which is the largest ethnic group across the U.S., but it's also true here in Omaha, has a huge economic impact in our community. And so the qualified census tract, which was, again, it was something that was federally, imposed based on, the economic hardship that these communities were experiencing during the pandemic. And then post-pandemic, it was when our group was coming together. It's like, okay, yeah, that's great that we're a qualified census tract and that we will get all these support, both, locally and from the state infusion. However, one of the notable things that happened during this ARPA discussions and this economic recovery impact grants opportunity was that it was the first time that our entire community really aligned, really unified, and said, there has been this investment in this area. We have an opportunity to transform systematic changes, by providing physical infrastructure and opportunities for future prosperity. We need to use this opportunity, even though we acknowledge that it was a one-time thing, right? Because we are hoping that we don't have another pandemic. Right. But while it was unfortunate, we have an opportunity to really impact the community and build again a thriving, prosperous community where everybody can prosper from. And so the economic recovery impact was, about $400 million. It came down that during the conversations, and there's many projects along East Omaha, as you mentioned, but in South Omaha, about $100 million are going to be infused in South Omaha. So what I say to folks is the South Omaha Business Improvement District, which is 24 between L and Q, has already about 100 business owners there. With this 100 million, that entire area is not going to look the same 3 years from now. Mm-hmm. We have the Museo Latino is doing an expansion. They recently got the fire station that was the formerly South Omaha Fire Station. They're going to be doing another expansion into across the street too. So that on its own on the corner is going to look really different in a couple of years. The Plaza de la Raza addition. We're also doing a Latino Economic Development Center where all the workforce development is going to happen from. We're going to host our own events. We're going to bring conferences. There's just so much. I can't even think about all of the things that are going to happen.
You have your hands full. How are you going to help do all that? But then there's a lot of other people in the community that I think are behind this effort. And I think there's, as I said, a lot of momentum right now, which is really great. I mean, we have development happening all over our city, which is wonderful to see. And all of it rises, the boat, right? And everyone gets to benefit from that, not just in any particular area of our city, but when everyone does well, we all do well, right?
Yes. I think that's what's most important about this one opportunity we have to, really exploit this opportunity really is that everybody's going to benefit from this. This is just another park, another place where you can get training. And then, of course, I mentioned the Museo Latino because that's close to my heart, also in the arts and culture. But certainly, just the entire East Omaha is going to look different. Like you said, Omaha is just becoming a really strong city where, you can feel there's inclusive transformation taking place in all pockets of the city now.
Going back a little bit to, how you grew up, and as you said, living in poverty with parents that worked really, really hard and really, really hard jobs. You have a daughter, you have children yourself, and I know you're such a great mentor to others in the community. What kinds of things are you trying to instill in them, that will make them maybe have a better life than even you did or their grandparents did? What types of things? Mentors along the way are important, whether they're family members or they're others in our community.
For me, it's important for my daughter and for the many other Latina youth that I mentor today to just know that being Latina is our superpower. I think I grew up I grew up with this sense of, I need to find the American way of Americanizing myself, which, it was hard as a little kid to have, all of that in your head. Like, oh, well, don't bring tortillas, like, buy a sandwich or whatever. It was just like this, always just feeling like if you were yourself, you're not cool, then you don't fit in. And like, what the hell? I remember my mom doing one torta, which is a Mexican bread, filled with, like ham and other things. Okay, so she used to pack that for me to school. And then I remember being made fun of. And I remember doing that to my daughter. And I remember she being made fun of. And then it was like, are you kidding? Like, so much we cared about what other people think of, our customs, our culture, our values. And it was like, no. And now I actually tell my daughter and those young kids, it's like, no. Latina is actually your superpower. I actually tell Latinas, Latinas is the new black. I said, you guys need to embrace your heritage. You need to embrace your culture. You need to embrace your Spanish. You need to embrace your music, all of this. And don't be shy about it. Because I think, we oppress ourselves as women too. It's like, we were just talking about hair before that. But honestly, we need to just continue to support each other, regardless of how we look, regardless of what we believe in. It's like, at the end of the day, we're women. At the end of the day, we're moms, or we are, working moms. And so I think when we embrace each other authentically, it starts with us by leading by example and honoring, who you are and not trying to fit in this one box. Because I certainly, the moment that my mom stopped doing the torta and then I started taking sandwiches, like I didn't even eat my lunch because I didn't even like sandwiches. You see what I mean? So it's like, why did I even do that?
Right.
So, no, I need to just yes, I was being made fun of, but that actually made me more resilient. You know what I mean? Because having had that experience, it was like, by the third day, I remember taking a sandwich. I was like, I don't really want to eat this sandwich because it was soggy. I didn't think of that.
You weren't being authentically yourself, right?
No, I wasn't eating it. It was so soggy. And I was like, that was just one example as a kid. That now that I think about it, it's like I went back to the torta. And yes, was I being made fun of? Then people wanted to try it,
Right.
Of course, people didn't care I wasn't being made fun of.
Well, and the torta is a kind of an analogy for life, right? I mean, we assimilate and we try to be what we're supposed to be in certain settings and not always ourselves. And I just think that that's really awesome and probably something that you're trying to instill, not just in your daughter, but all of the others. You're a great example for Latino children of what can be, what success looks like. Were there any mentors along the way for you as you made your transition into where you're at today? People who came alongside you and helped you?
There was a lot of people that, regardless of who I was. Because I think I'm not perceived as, I don't need to go around saying, I'm a business owner and I have this and that. I think just people just don't perceive, who I am. Since I'm not perceived that way, I had a lot of people give me opportunities without knowing who I was, like truly was, right? So, I have to say, my boss at the AIM Institute was a huge supporter of me. We really shook hands when she hired me, and she took a bet on me, and then she just trusted that I was doing what I needed to do in order to elevate that or nonprofit, right? When I was there, and so I say, she was a huge supporter and a huge advocate and mentor for me in my professional journey. But I had many other people that again they didn't know of me or knew what capacity I can bring to the table or to that role. And yet they put all their eggs in my basket. Yeah. And I'm just so grateful, for all of those people along the way that just took a chance on me. And that's why I say I need to pass it on.
Yeah.
Someone took a chance on me. I am the one that's always say, it doesn't matter if they don't have experience. It doesn't matter if people might not fit a specific box, meaning, qualifications, education, all of these things. It's like, why don't we just give it a try? If it doesn't work out, it's fine, but it was an opportunity. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I always, give people opportunities because someone gave me a chance.
I love that. So I know you've got your hands full because you just told us about the million things that you're doing with your new job. But what's next for you, maybe personally? Any goals that you've got in mind? I know you're a goal setter and you're a go-getter, so you've got to have some things you're working on.
Yes, I have. I'm always planning. People that know me know that I'm always planning to talk about what's next month, what's in 6 months, a year, or 5 years. Certainly, I'll be running for office. I haven't decided what office I'm going to be doing or what interests me in the near future. So I'm looking at all my choices.
Okay, everybody heard that. So watch for her someday.
Someday, I'll be running for office. So that's kind of my long term. Short term, I'm really excited to go to Mexico here this month. Just to be centered again and just go back to again just what it grounds me just to think this is who I was, this is where I live, this is what kind of hardship my family is still experiencing. Here's some of the things that I can do today to help them, or my relatives or extended friends. So I'm really excited. Short term, I'm really excited for that. Mid term, I mean, in the next year or so, I'm just excited to see what people, how people are going to feel, how these projects are going to make people feel. I'm just excited to just kind of see that happen and to hear it, right? Like, see it. They're starting to see all of the development happening in Southeast Omaha, and I'm just excited to see how that project, not just Plaza, but every single project that's going to take place, is going to make people feel
appreciated and paid attention to, probably.
Yes.
Right? And it will really be neat in a few years when some of the first ones are at least wrapped up. And I imagine that usually when there's a large project that's a catalyst, it creates other development all the way around it. So who knows, in 15 years from now, when, you're some bigwig in politics, you'll be able to look back and say, wow, I had a hand in making some of this happen.
Yes. So that's what keeps me up. It's like, oh, I can't wait. I want to hear what people feel about this. Because I think that, when I think about when I arrived to the U.S. and I always lived in Southeast Omaha my whole life, just to know that I worked in those neighborhoods and to see it change so dramatically, I mean, I'm excited for what's to come because, like I said, I think it's not going to look the same, but like you said, it's going to add more things to the unknown, which is exciting as well. I love to know just that there's more. I just don't know what.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know she's a busy lady, so the fact that you took a few minutes with me, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. No, likewise. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining us on The Sweet Life.